Your family spends $1,500 to $2,500 a year on protein. Every dollar is funneled through a chain built to keep you buying. Appalachian mountain men never paid a cent. They dug a pond for $12, stocked it with ducks, fish, plants, and one hidden ingredient that regenerates high-protein feed entirely on its own. That system has not needed a feed store in generations, and there is a reason it was buried. Every trip to the grocery store is a reminder. Protein is the anchor of the bill: eggs, chicken, fish, beef, each one stamped with a price that never seems to hold steady. Added up, the average family hands over $1,500 to $2,500 a year just to keep protein on the table. That's not a luxury. That's survival. But every dollar you spend feeds a machine. Corporate feed mills, grain suppliers, trucking companies, and store chains, all of them take their cut. The system is designed to keep you coming back. It's vertical integration from field to shelf, and you're locked in at every step. The feed store sells you bags of pellets. The hatchery sells you chicks. The fish farm sells you fingerlings. They call it convenience. It is dependency, plain and simple. Meanwhile, the old-timers in the mountains never paid for protein. They built ponds that ran themselves year after year with no feed bill, no supply chain, no outside hand in their pocket. That's the difference. One side keeps you buying, the other sets you free. 2,400 years ago, a Chinese statesman named Fan Li wrote down what Big Ag would rather you never read. His treatise, the Yang Jing, laid out a blueprint for a pond that feeds itself, and you without a single sack of store-bought feed. This was not folklore. It was a manual for survival. Fan Li's design split the pond into layers, each one stocked with a different fish. Minnows at the top, crucian carp in the middle, loach on the bottom, and catfish working the mud. Waterbirds like ducks were not an afterthought. They were part of the system, stirring the water, fertilizing the plants, and keeping the food chain alive. He wrote that the pond needs no outside feed. Everything cycles. Waste becomes food. Plants like cattail and water lily clean the water and feed the fish. Duckweed grows so fast you can harvest it every other day. The system was so efficient it survived dynasties and famines. It is a fact. Closed-loop protein is not some YouTube gimmick. It is ancient, it is proven, and it is the opposite of dependency. Big Ag did not invent protein. They just figured out how to sell it back to you. When the Tang dynasty outlawed the raising of common carp, it was not about fish, it was about power. The emperor's name was Li Yuan, the same character as the carp, so the law banned the fish from every farm pond, under threat of confiscation and a fine of 500 coins. Suddenly, the most reliable protein in China was off limits. Farmers had to improvise or go hungry. What happened next was not a collapse, it was an explosion of ingenuity. They filled their ponds with loach, crucian carp, silver carp, and catfish, each one doing a different job, each one fighting off the waste of the others. The pond became a living machine, not a single species feedlot. That is how the four-part system spread, not because some expert planned it, but because people had no choice. The same story played out a world away. 13th century travelers William of Rubruck and Marco Polo wrote about European ponds teeming with fish and ducks, water so clear you could see the bottom. No sacks of feed in sight. They watched peasants pull eggs, fish, and edible plants from the Pim water, year after year, without buying a thing. The records match: ponds about 10 meters wide, salts 4 or 5 meters deep, ducks stirring the surface, plants filtering the runoff. The system worked because it had to. Law, taboo, or poverty. Constraint forced innovation. Not one of these farmers needed a feed store. They built independence into the water itself. That is the lesson Big Ag does not want you to hear. When the chain is broken, you get freedom, not scarcity. A mountain man stands at the edge of his pond before sunrise, boots in the mud, flock circling his feet. He doesn't carry a feed bucket. He doesn't need one. The ducks are already at work, combing the water for snails, worms, and duckweed, snapping up every scrap of protein nature offers, khaki Campbells. Tough, tireless, bred for output, not show. Each bird lays between 280 and 340 eggs a year. That's not a fluke. That's the result of a system tuned for survival, not for the catalog. About 1/3 of what these ducks eat comes straight from the pond. No bagged pellets, no grain bills, no cash handed to the feed store. The rest they scrounge from the land or, if you must, a handful of corn in winter. Their droppings hit the water, feeding the next link in the chain. Nothing wasted. Every morning a basket of eggs, brown and speckled and heavy in the hand, goes to the kitchen. The leftovers feed the plants, the fish, the very water itself. Corporate feed companies want you buying sacks every month. This pond makes them irrelevant. The ducks aren't just livestock. They are the engine that breaks the cycle of independence. That's what real independence looks like. No receipts, no middleman. Just food in hand and money kept in your pocket. A pond without plants is a dead end. That's the secret Big Ag does not want you to hear. Every feed store pushes pumps, filters, and chemicals, hundreds of dollars year after year, just to keep water clear. But the mountain man points to his pond edge, boots sunk in muck, and shows you the real filtration system: plants. Cattails stand waist-high, roots tangled in the shallows. Hornwort drifts just below the surface, a green cloud. Water lilies spread wide, their pads shading the water, their roots trapping silt. These are not decorations. They are the engine that keeps the whole pond alive. Ducks drop waste. Fish stir the bottom. And every ounce of nitrogen, every gram of what the feed companies call pollution, gets sucked up by plant roots. EPA research and ancient records agree. Macrophytes like these can pull up to 90% of fish waste nitrogen out of the water. That is not a guess. It is a proven fact. No filter you buy at the store can do that for free. No electricity, no replacement parts, just plants doing what they have done for thousands of years. The water runs clear. The fish stay healthy. And the only ones left out are the companies selling you bags and pumps. In this system, the plants are both shield and sword. They clean the water, feed the next link in the chain, and make every dollar spent on hardware look like a scam. A single bucket of bluegill fingerlings, $20, maybe $50 if you want a head start, is all it takes to stock a backyard pond for a decade. That's not a subscription. That's a one-time buy and you're done. Bluegill are the workhorses of the Appalachian pond. They breed like clockwork. 2 or 3 spawns a summer, filling every pocket of water with fry. No hatchery trucks rolling up. No catalog orders, no annual restocking fee. Just a living engine, churning out fish every year on its own. The old-timers knew the rhythm. Spring rains fill the pond, water warms, and the bluegill dig nests in the shallows. By midsummer, you've got clouds of fingerlings darting through the weeds. Future meals, no extra cost. Bluegill eat what the pond gives: bugs, plant scraps, duckweed. They turn clean water and sunlight into fillets. Protein that never touches a feed bag. This isn't a hobbyist's trickle of goldfish. It's a perpetual harvest, a protein dividend paid out every season. The only thing you owe is patience. That's the difference Big Ag wants you paying year after year. The pond pays you back forever, and nobody sends a bill. Duckweed is the final insult to the feed companies. It grows so fast, a man with a 5-gallon bucket can scoop up a new harvest every other day. No fertilizer, no feed bill, no permission slip from the store. Under the right sun, duckweed doubles in 48 hours. That's not a typo. The protein content runs between 35 and 45%, beating most commercial feed and matching soybean meal, but you don't pay a dime. Ducks gobble it straight from the water. Fish eat the excess. Every handful closes the loop, turning waste into eggs, fillets, and freedom. The only thing Big Ag can sell you is doubt. A mountain man marks the ground with his shovel. No plastic liner. No trip to the hardware store. Just a patch of heavy clay and a plan that costs $12 if you do it the old way. The clay seal method is as old as the hills. Dig a basin 10 by 15 feet and make it 4 feet deep. Pack the clay tight, stomp it down, flood it, and let it settle. That's your liner. $0 if you have the soil. Next, plant a handful of cattails, hornwort, and water lily roots. Let the water sit until the plants take hold. Only then bring in the ducks. Only then add the fish. This is not a weekend project. It's a staged build, each step locking in the next. The feed store wants you to think you need a liner, a pump, a bag of pellets. That's the chain. The pond breaks it. $12 buys freedom, if you are willing to put in the sweat. By the end of year 3, the numbers speak for themselves. Families who kept honest ledgers saw their feed bills drop by more than 60%. No coupons, no rebates, no loyalty cards, just a pond doing its job. The ducks eat straight from the water, the fish fatten on what the system provides, and duckweed turns waste into protein for free. The feed store's sales pitch falls flat when you're pulling eggs and fillets from your own backyard. That's not a theory. That's a line item scratched out of the ledger for good. The chain breaks here. The savings don't go to a corporation. They stay home, right where they belong. Right now, every extra dollar at the feed store keeps you chained. A $12 pond that produces eggs, fish, and duckweed can break that link for good. 70 grams of protein per square meter, year after year, with no middleman. Big Ag depends on your dependence. The question is, do you?